All right, good evening, everybody. At this time, if you're able to rise, please do so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time we will open up the first hearing and privilege of the floor. Remind everybody that we have allotted 30 minutes. If you wish to address the board, just please state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes to address the board. Twice. Would be a no. All right, I'll close the first hearing and privilege of the floor. Remind everyone we will have a second towards the end of the meeting. And at this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Schwartz for her comments.
And I'm going to forego my comments because we have 3 presentations and I want to get folks started. So I will introduce Amy Pedrick from West & Company, and she will start. And I do just want to say Kathy is running the live stream as well as being the district clerk, so.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am a partner with West & Company. We are your external auditor. What we do is we come in annually. We review the books and records of the district. We put opinions on the numbers and compile the financial statements that you guys have in front of you, the big document that is in the manila-looking bound report. And we then meet with the audit committee and go through those documents in depth. So I just met with the audit committee at 5 o'clock, went through the whole document, the whole 77 pages. I will not do that with you guys tonight. I'm just going to touch on a couple highlights and then open for any questions. So those of you that are new to the board, the financial statements are set up in a prescribed format that we are required to follow. The first part is the independent auditor's report. So that's pages 1 through 3 of the document. That's the first opinion that comes from West & Company. And that is our opinion on the financial statements themselves. And that is a clean opinion. That is the highest opinion we give and what the district has received in the past. After that, we have management's discussion and analysis. That goes from pages 4 through 15. That is supposed to be a snapshot for the reader to just read those 11 pages, see what happened at the district. It allows management to add some narrative, some explanations of variances to budget, things that could affect the future of the district going forward, things that are happening currently. But the one thing to really remember is when you're looking at the numbers in this section, they are presented not necessarily how the district accounts for their books and records on a daily basis. They're presented in what we in the accounting world call full accrual statements. It takes all your funds and all your long-term assets and liabilities and combines them together. And there specifically is one large liability that all the districts and municipalities have. It's called their other post-employment benefit accrual. That is something that is an estimate that you hire actuaries to perform that calculates the long-term future liability of health and dental insurance out into the future. New York State does not allow you to fund this liability. There's no reserves that you can have. There's no way to set cash aside. So just by the nature of having this liability on that long-term statement, you'll see a deficit net position, which is not necessarily how the books and records and not necessarily the fiscal health of the district. Those are going to be in the following statements, and those are the most important. So if I were a board member and I were going to pick up these documents, I would look specifically at pages 18 and 20, and those are your fund-based financials. That shows you for your general fund, your school lunch fund, special aid fund, etc., how the district's doing, what reserves we have, and where our fund balance is. Then after that, we have our footnotes. The footnotes give a lot more definition, description to all those numbers that are in that long-term picture, the full accrual financial statements. Then we have some supplemental schedules that are required to be in the documents, either by the Governmental Standards Board, State Ed, or State Controller's Office. Then we get to page 63 of the document, and that's our second opinion. So this is our report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. We're not your internal auditor. You guys do hire an internal auditor that really looks in depth at those controls, but we look at them in regards to financial reporting, and we had no findings, no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses. Your business office does a phenomenal job of getting the books and records ready for audit. The controls that you have in place on a day-to-day basis are working well, working effectively. And the fact that you have clean opinions shows that things are working really well. And as was stated in the audit committee meeting, this document is not due until October 15th, but we're here middle of September with a completed document ready to file to the state and the federal government. So your business office does a great job, and we have no findings to report. The next opinion is our report on the single audit. So what that is, your district spends more than $750,000 of federal money. So we have to do a compliance audit with your grants. Each year we pick different grants to look at. This specifically, we looked at the child nutrition cluster, which is your lunch and breakfast program, because you get federal reimbursement for that. And we had no findings associated with that grant specifically. Then there is the audit of the extra classroom activity funds. They are required to be audited by state education department. They're on a cash basis. And what happens is that you have a middle school and high school. These are your student fundraising clubs, but they're held to different standards than the school. New York State sees this as a way to teach students fiscal responsibility. So they have to pay sales tax, charge sales tax, do profit and losses for fundraisers. There's a whole bunch of different things that they have to do to more than just the fundraising. So we did have a very small management letter comment. It's very common in all the districts that we audit of a couple instances where sales tax wasn't paid or profit and loss wasn't completed, but very minor. Other than that, we had no comments, no findings or anything to go over with the board in regards to the audit, the procedures, the controls, etc. That was a very brief kind of overview. The audit committee got to sit through something much longer, but is there any questions that the board has on the audit process? Any of the numbers contained within the document?
And I mean, not much. Is there a training or something we can?
So you guys every year give a training to your advisors, your students, treasurers, the principals. You guys do it every year. The problem with that, it's not really a problem, but the thing with extra class, it's common in so many of our districts. You have treasurers that change, advisors that change. And as Susan pointed out in the audit committee, and I'm going to use this going forward, it's a teaching tool. So the kids are learning. So things, they're learning as they're going through this process, and it's inevitable that, New York State sales tax law as a CPA is complicated. I can't imagine being an 11th grader trying to figure this out and see what's taxable and not taxable. So the fact that, I guess, if I were a board member, I would take comfort in the number that we're finding is getting lower, and things are improving.
When is that training happening? Because my son's treasurer of 3 clubs this year, and I haven't heard.
It's in the corrective action letter. It's in October.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we've seen those numbers come down throughout the year, so.
Yeah, like I said, it seems small, I just was curious.
Yeah, and we kind of watch that, and we can make recommendations for change of policies to how they do that, but they've been significantly dropping, so the students are learning. It's just when you change over, it's their kids, they're learning.
Any other questions for Amy? Thank you. As always, we appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
No. Just waiting for Chad to get ready. All right, so at this time, I'll take a motion for number 6 and 7 to accept the auditor's report 24-25 financial report, as well as accept the corrective action plan 24-25, please.
A motion to accept the auditor's report for 2024-2025 physical report, single audit subcommittee report, and along with acceptance of the audit correction plan for 24-25.
Thank you. And a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mike. Questions? Comments?
Yes, my usual one I do every year, since those of us on the committee just got this. Does the committee feel comfortable with what they heard during the presentation today to vote in favor of it?
Yeah, so we wouldn't bring this to you tonight if we weren't comfortable on it. Amy did a great job tonight, and I think literally every bullet point that I have, she mentioned.
Great.
The biggest thing is that, again, we have a clean, spotless audit. So kudos to Drew, Sherry, and Chris and the team, as well as like Kimmy had said, which again was on my list. Those numbers in the correction plan, they used to be 14 of 26, and now it's 1 of 26. So they are learning. And again, we're 4 weeks early to get this into the state. So yeah, no, it's kudos to everybody.
Great, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain?
I'll abstain, I just came in.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, now we move on to our second presentation of the evening, our DEI presentation.
And it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. L.B. Hannes, and we have members of both Mr. Arquette's committee and my committee who have joined us tonight for the presentation. And Dr. Hannes, I'm going to just get out of your way.
Me too.
That's for all of you. Good to see familiar faces and some new faces. I'm LB. A privilege to have been working with the district for what you'll see is about four years now. We're culminating a pretty big project. Our work together at Tangible Development with the school district started back in 2021. For folks that have been around for a while, we performed a pretty large assessment. We tried to reach everybody in the school district, starting with staff, and then parents and students and community members, board members. And that phase one of our assessment happened in between 2021 and 2023 and culminated in lots of data and reporting on how to make the school district more inclusive and accessible and really line up with the state's culturally responsive and sustaining framework. There was also a good amount of training that happened through this time period. I spent a lot of time with the admin council, and that's been a constant throughout the last 4 years. Starting in August of 2023, we began taking the data and the recommendations from the multiple reports we provided and turning them into strategy and implementation. And like Susan mentioned, we did not do that in isolation. There were 2 groups created, one short-term ad hoc committee that was the strategic planning group that worked with Rick, and then an ongoing superintendent's council that was meant to be a group of folks from stakeholders across the district to work with Susan to serve as an accountability group as well as a sounding board for ways to make sure that the district is continuing to meet all needs of all students. What I'm going to show you next is the output that the strategic planning group was in charge of spearheading, but also worked really collaboratively with that superintendent's council to make happen. And then most recently, I spent a couple hours with your admin council talking about how to get things in motion. What of these ideas that the strategy group came up with should we start first, and how do we keep the momentum of making sure that the district is meeting all needs of all students? Now, back in 2022, when we finished our large-scale assessment, this is where we put the district in terms of our maturity model. This is kind of our diagnostic tool that comes from the research. And you'll see we put the district right on the kind of right side of compliant, heading towards strategic back in 2022. Having worked closely with your district for the last 3 years since this, I can definitely point to lots of places that have shown progress and evolution in the maturation from the district overall. I'd like to remind folks that there is a lot of good work happening across the district and has been happening before our project ever started. Our job is to help the district look at it from an organizational change perspective, not just a curricular perspective or an HR perspective, but really the organization as a whole. And when we plotted you on this point back in 2022, that was the perspective we were reflecting back to you. And so the strategy that I'm going to offer you next is really to continue the work that the district is going to take responsibility for, big picture, but no doubt in classrooms every day, in the hallways every day, in HR practices, the work has been continuing. It didn't stop since 2022 and certainly is in motion now. One of the big things that the group put together was this commitment to community. I said this up here before, and I'll say it again because I think it's worth saying anytime you're talking about inclusion and fairness, is that this work really is for everybody. It's not for one group or one person or one group of people. It really is meant to make the district and your community accessible and fair for everybody. And what you can see in this commitment statement is that the group that put this together, that is the tone that is wanting to be set about this work is about unity, it is about representation, it's about dignity for everybody in the district, students, faculty, staff, community members. So I'll read it out loud because it's powerful, and I think having grown up not too far from here and then spending the last 4 years working in this project, I think it does reflect the ethos of what the district is trying to continue here. And at the individual level, I've met so many of you. I certainly see this in the individuals that work together to put this work in motion. So it says, one community, every tartan, the pattern that unites us. Every tartan is a vital thread in our shared tapestry. At Scotia-Glenville, we're committed to embodying unity, embracing representation, and upholding the dignity of each individual. Our mission is to cultivate an environment of learning and growth where all students, staff, and community members feel safe, seen, supported, and heard. We are stronger as a community when we are all empowered to succeed. So kudos to that group. I think that's, I work with a lot of clients in the education space, and I think that's a really powerful commitment statement to your community. All right, here are some strategic goals. Here are the strategic goals. There were 4 focus areas. We purposely did not put a time frame on this. There are so many things that you do as a district. This plan is meant to be guideposts to continue the work, not to be a deadline for people to feel like they fail if they don't get it done by 2028 or 2029 or 2030. The goal is to focus the district on the places that, from the feedback you all said, are the things that are most prominent and should be tended to in the immediacy while also long-term planning. You'll also see that there are a lot of things in these focus areas and the goals that are under them that there's already things in motion. A lot of times the conversation was, well, this happens in my kid's school but this doesn't happen in my kid's school. So if we take a step back, the goal becomes, how can we learn from the schools that are doing really rich, dynamic stuff and take the district taking responsibility for making it a consistent district-wide process, initiative, goal, task, versus one kid experiencing something that is inclusive and one kid not. So that's really a lot of the flavor here. So the focus areas being safe space and support for students. Number 2 being curriculum and instruction in alignment with the state's culturally responsive and sustaining education framework. Number 3, community buy-in and engagement. And 4, professional development. What I really appreciate about it, and you can probably see it, is that it's really holistic, right? We can't just focus on students. We have to focus on the well-being of the staff and faculty at the district so that they're their best selves for the students. And then because this community is so tight-knit and interdependent with each other, their community has to also be buy-in and engaged in this process as well. So here's the focus area 1, the outcome being that all students feel emotionally and physically safe in school and can identify at least one adult they feel connected to and supported by. So the goals you'll see here is that really around that unity aspect of the commitment statement, goal 1 being to create a committee focused on student safety and support, one committee with representation from all buildings rather than it having be just solely at the building level, so that, one of the big findings that we found from the report was that this feeling of the district feeling siloed. And so wanting to put efforts out there to bring people together across buildings, across departments, across focus areas, across goals, so that it feels more like we work for a district versus just working for a school or a department or a grade level. Goal 2 is creating consistent, calm, quiet spaces and support across all buildings. Again, this is one of those things that some of the buildings have that and some of the buildings don't, and wanting to ensure that the district takes responsibility for consistency across all buildings for all students. Goal 1.3 being to identify and select a K-12 aligned philosophy about how people can be heard in the spirit of restorative practices. We know that we live in a very world in conflict, a country in conflict, and there are not enough examples in our public space across all parties and all politics of conflict resolution. And so this was 1.3. 1.3 is really how can we teach and really uphold the value that conflict is not inherently a bad thing. We just need to do it well. so that we all can learn and be better. So that's really what goal 1.3 is. Goal 1.4 is providing training for staff on de-escalation and responding to student behaviors in trauma-informed ways. And then 1.5, encouraging relationship building through community and staff engagement. This work cannot be successful unless everybody feels connected to each other. So 1.5 is really the foundation of that. Focus area 2 is pretty straightforward. Curriculum and instruction is in alignment with a culturally responsive and sustaining education framework, again from the state. The most recent outputs from the state around the portrait of a graduate has a culturally responsive and sustaining framework built into it. So this, y'all were ahead of what the state's putting out in terms of the portrait of the graduate, which is cool. And so the outcome here is that there's consistency and representation of materials and processes across the district, ensuring fair representation across all groups. So the goals here are really just ensuring that curriculum and instruction is in alignment with the state framework, and that there's representation and fair distribution across buildings and students across the district. Focus area 3 is community buy-in and engagement. This is really the district's promise to the community around how the district operates with transparency and accountability across all stakeholder groups. 3.1, you'll see that taking a look at how the culturally responsive and sustaining education framework can be weaved in further into district communications. A goal to administer regular assessments to understand experiences and perceptions of the district, and that can look in many different ways. We're not the only folks that do those. Like, they could be other vendors, it could be internal things, it could be focus groups. But a commitment that the district will stay in open communication with the community to ensure that experiences and perceptions are heard on a regular basis. And then further collaboration with parent and community groups to ensure that events programs are inclusive of all families and all traditions. And then our last focus area here 4 is professional development. So this is a commitment to staff. One of the big findings, and what I appreciated from working so closely with staff, is that there is all the desire across the district to ensure that staff and faculty are as inclusive and responsive to student needs. And student needs in our communities are changing rapidly, and wanting to ensure that your staff and faculty have the support to continuously learn and grow their knowledge and their skills to meet the evolving needs of students and families. Some goals around a training program throughout the employee life cycle. We have onboarding, but then how are we ensuring that we're giving attention to training for employees throughout the employee life cycle when folks have been here 5 years, 10 years, even when they offboard and go somewhere else or retire? How are we ensuring that we are having happy leavers from an employment perspective? Goal 4.2 is around engaging in regular reviews with instructional staff regarding their own strategic goals to support the culturally responsive and sustaining education framework in their work. And then this last one, I think, is one of my favorite that the group came up with, because there is so much. We had lots of educators from the district in both of these groups, and that was on purpose. And there is a lot of evidence that, like I said before, there are inclusion practices happening throughout the district. You don't always need to hire an external trainer to teach on some of this work. It's in your district, particularly when we're talking about budgets. And so 4.3 was the idea around creating a professional development group to elevate the practices that are happening already in the district with your staff, and having your staff teach their staff, teach each other, and be mentors and guides for each other around how to share promising practices and integrate this into their work. It doesn't always have to be an external trainer. So that's what goal 4.3 is creating an internal group of people that are already here, that are committed to this work, that you have the expertise and the knowledge within. How do we build the structure to share the internal knowledge? So that's that last goal 4.3 on focus area 4. That is the plan. Like I said, it's not time bound. Rick and Susan obviously are the holders of the plan and are responsible for keeping track and accountability, but a lot of it is also baked into the admin council and the superintendent from the BOE. So thank you for having us part of your journey.
Questions, team?
I got a couple, Dr. Hannah. You're talking about strategies on engaging our stakeholders. I was just curious, what strategies do you have that we can take in, not only for DEI, but in general, better reaching our stakeholders?
Yeah, I mean, you have lots of stakeholders, and I think it depends on which stakeholders you're talking about. I think one of the biggest things that school districts and boards in particular can be doing now is cultivating relationships. And one of the things that last time I was with the admin council, before we can get to other kinds of trainings and focusing on certain populations as part of the work, everybody needs to feel more connected to this work first. And so that group has a lot of ideas around how to, I have a phone in my pocket and my kids are in Schenectady and I get texts every day and they're well communicated. I appreciate how much they communicate, and nothing replaces the in-person relationship building. So I think from a community perspective and an adult perspective, one of the strategies that I think you all should continue to think about, and I know you already do this, is how are we continuing to build the relationships? Because when we disagree about things, it's easy to put distance, but the more we know each other and the more that we're connected to each other, the more likely we'll come back to the table and have generative conflict that's in the best interest for everybody. So for that stakeholder group, for the adults, I think the relationship building is, in this particular moment in our country, is one of the most important things that you can do. I think with staff, it's a hard time to be an educator. It's been a hard time forever, but there are particular challenges now. With staff, I think making sure that they feel supported and seen and connected to each other and connected to their leadership. Strategies, there's a lot of them in there, and connected to each other. I think there's been a lot of questioning of educators' expertise. And that last goal, I think, is my favorite of that entire plan. You have a lot of expertise here in your educators and in your community members and in your parent groups. Use them. Use that expertise here. Find ways to bring them together without taxing their time and labor too much. But there's a lot of energy here and a lot of people that want to do a lot of good work. So in connecting them and giving them the outputs to share that is another strategy. And then I'll leave the kids' strategy to y'all. I'm a grown-up, I'm an adult educator. You have the expertise around the students in this room. But that, I think, are the two things I would leave you to think about is connection and relationships. And then for your staff in particular, bolstering them and getting people to remember that they are experts in what they do and finding avenues to show that.
Right on. I got one more.
Yeah.
Talking about collecting the data from our staff during their life cycle with us. And I guess low-hanging fruit on that is you can send out surveys. But again, what would be another strategy that we can look at where we're collecting not only that data, but overall their feelings and their experiences that they're seeing on ground? What could you suggest on there?
Yeah, so big data like this, like the data that we showed, that we did for y'all can use that data for 5 years easily. There's so much in there. What I think when it comes to, and there's a lot of HR professionals here and in your midst, in your community, but I think the things that are going to keep you more connected to the feedback in the moment is more regular check-ins, more regular asking folks for what they think, what they feel, and collecting that in a way that, taking it outside the staff meeting. What is a method? And we talked a little bit about this at the admin council. What are methods that we can check in not only in terms of performance, but feedback throughout the year, and then also running that data and pushing it back out to the people that shared it, and having a closer feedback loop. This kind of data, you do it every 5 years. You see if there's been any change, and then you close the feedback loop. But if you're having more regular touch points with staff and faculty and even students around what's it like, maybe having, I think there's some, there's town halls that you could do, or bringing groups of students together or staff together to say, twice a year, we're going to talk to this group of staff. We're going to talk not necessarily on employment, but what is your experience here? Do you feel supported? What's working well? What can we do better? a couple times a year versus every 5 years or every 2 years. And the HR professionals have other methods and strategies and tools that can do that. But I think we're all asked to fill out a survey. I buy a cup of coffee, I fill out a survey. I take a survey, they ask me to take a survey. We're a little burnt out on surveys, and for me as a survey professional, I do this for a living. It's an uphill battle to get people to take surveys. So I think, again, more regular touch points in person, that relationship building, and then closing the loop. What did we hear? These are the changes that we made. These are the ones that we couldn't make, and this is why. And keeping it a little bit closer than surveys every year, and then folks don't hear about it. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. But like I said, there's also probably a lot of great ideas in you folks in your teams.
That's great. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Any other questions?
With some of these committees, like the student safety and support, is the thought to actually have students on the committee as well?
I'll look to Rick and Susan. I think that was the idea, but yes, Rick.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
In 2022, we were just right at compliant. Where did you say we stood now?
I would say you're definitely closer to strategic. You have an articulated strategy. You have community members and stakeholder groups that exist for the purpose of paying attention to this. You have your superintendent's council that is meeting to hold the superintendent accountable. So I would say closer to strategic, maybe right on that strategic kind of point on your maturity model here in front of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. The goal here isn't to get to a landing point, it's movement, right? As long as you're moving and striving to make it better, that's the goal here, is movement and change.
Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment. Being on the superintendent committee, I was there firsthand, and honestly, a lot of questions were asked by all the members of our group. Hard questions, uncomfortable questions, and like nobody was scared to ask. There was no silence at any time. It was awesome experience for me. I'll say that. So I appreciate your team having a framework for us now, something to go off of. And now all we do is move forward. Try to be diverse, equitable, and inclusive as possible. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good comment. Any other questions?
I think I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
In phase 1, you mentioned that there is a student feedback process.
Yep.
And I'd like to ask, I know you said that staff is really where your specialty is. There are other methods that you would recommend about communicating with students, especially with students who feel that their voice wouldn't matter or who are hesitant to speak up?
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the question part of it? Just what are the strategies?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. So the student, for all stakeholder groups, the students, the staff, and the community members and parents, we did both a survey. And with the students, we carved out a whole class period for them to take it. So it wasn't with the staff and with the adults, with the staff and the parents, it was sent out over email and sent over a certain period of time and said, please take this. But with the students, no one was forced, but a whole period was that we're going to take this time to do this. If you want to participate, here is the means to do it. You don't have to check your email. You don't have to do it after school. We're going to dedicate time if you want your voice heard. You have a whole class period to take this 15-minute survey. So we were really explicit around making sure that we removed as many barriers as possible for students participation. And then we also offer focus groups and individual interviews that students could sign up for. I would say there was great participation in the survey, less participation in the focus groups and the interviews. So I would say moving forward, it's hard for students. The ones that did show up, they were like, I feel it was really hard for me to decide whether or not to miss class because I really need to stay in class. So I think moving forward, some of the strategies for students would be to bring groups of students together and dedicate time during the day to collect some information. Maybe it's a town hall once or twice a year, and you bring students together. I mean, it's got to be facilitated. It can't be chaotic. There's got to be ways the students can participate, or purposely bring groups at grade level or as part of extracurriculars, and organize the groups together, focus them around a certain topic that they have experience around. I think a lot about one of the big other findings was the difference between kids whose family went to Scotia and kids that recently moved into Scotia. And that is a different experience, both from the kid perspective and from the family perspective. So you could do a focus group of kids of recently come to Scotia. If your family moved in within the last 3 years, pull those kids and those parents together and say, for you, and do it around experience. And then also do some open stuff. I know we don't have phones in the school anymore, which is a good thing. But there might be ways to target some electronic stuff too. Doing that method where we capture a period of time during the day where kids took the surveys on computers seemed to work really well. So you can replicate that as well.
Thank you. Yes.
Anything else?
I have a question, Susan. So this predates my time on the board. So when we collected individuals, because Doctor's right, we've got a lot of great staff with a lot of great perspectives. How did we collect everybody up? Did we put out like an email? Did we have like a form? How did we collect individuals? Was it a voluntary thing?
For the survey?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we partner with the Siena College Research Institute. They changed their name, so they're Siena University now. So the district gave us the email addresses of all staff.
Okay.
And then Siena sends the survey to all staff. Then it was optional. We communicated the heck out of it. Probably everybody got at least probably 8 emails, and also talking about it in staff meetings. It was all voluntary, so no one was forced to take it. And then once the survey closed, the email addresses were deleted. All of the data was separated from the email addresses, so it was completely anonymous. Siena cleans all that data up, makes it anonymous, and then passes the data to us to analyze. So email address, it went through email.
Awesome. Thank you, Doctor.
Nothing further? LB, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'll ask for a motion to adopt our commitment to community statement and long-range plan, please.
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Chad.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt our commitment to community statement and long-range plan.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Anything further? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. On to our third presentation, and if you've been waiting patiently, thank you, about our building projects.
Good evening. I'm Tateo, construction manager. Start up before I get into it. I'd like to thank Susan and Drew for their continued confidence in me for over 9 years in managing the construction projects. I'd also like to give special thanks to my summer team members for their exceptional effort. Tim Cadine, John Bars from Bass Hatfield, Ken McMillan from DeJezer, Steve Calabro, local from Clune Electric, Dave Pearl from Tri-Valley, Nate and Max from Stark, John Tranter from ESC, and Ricky Netto from Day Automation. That team was able to guarantee on September 4th, school opened. But also, John Giannetti, not just because you're here, but for allowing us to basically trash his building and then with a week to go, clean it. So it was Dennis Cooper, Art Weber, who may never talk to me again because this is the third time. I did this to him at the middle school, and then Glendale, and now at Lincoln. So he doesn't even wave at me. So, and but not least, Pete Zwack for all of his exceptional mechanical knowledge, his effort, his input. When you have a large puzzle and Pete was able to help us put the pieces in the right place, because sometimes it doesn't fit and we have to move things, and he was very good at helping us move along. All right, capital project, EV project, okay. Oh, my sidekick, the tall Scottish one's, he's homesick, or so he says, so I'm here. All right, the agenda, we're going to go over what we did this summer, what's coming up next summer, the capital outlay project, and the EV infrastructure update. There we go. So at Lincoln, we secure vestibule is about 75% complete. Air handlers are replaced, operational. The boiler and the water heater are replaced and pretty much operational. Classroom heating and the cubby replacements. We're finalizing the cabinets with John's coordination. We're swapping some classrooms, so we're getting more and more done each day. The library mechanical unit. Here are the new boilers. Air handler units are on the top diagonal, and new pumps for the boilers at Lincoln. There's the new stack, cabinets, and counters and cubbies against the walls, the new units in the library, and the front entry vestibule. Walls we're missing is the glass wall. It may show up. I don't know when. This is Glendale. This is from the inside of Glendale. We have the transaction window all prepped and open. Openings ready. Same thing with, oh no, that's the middle school. We have the secure vestibule cut out for the outside, and there's a new secure vestibule. All the walls are complete. We're waiting on some outstanding materials with ship dates to be determined. Next year, we're going to be working at the high school, doing the track, the secure vestibule, some mechanical operations, upgrades for the D-wing, the main office, grease trap replacement. The secure vestibule is going to have a lot of sidewalk replacement out front. The middle school will be finishing the secure vestibule, small gym RTU replacement, some toilet renovations for first and second floor stacked, and this room. We'll be redoing this room. Then we'll be at Scotia-Glenville also with secure vestibule, classrooms, corridors, ceilings, and lightings, and a new transformer. This is the capital outlay project. The carpet finally showed up. We have stairs that will be completed this week and next week, nights that we don't have activities. So that would be complete. On the far right is the new stairs and treads for 4 stairwells. Onto the EV. SHPO is looking for alternative analysis to describe the building conditions. SEI has taken numerous photos, study of alternative use. They're looking for any potential use for the building, and then identify a potential new owner. We are preparing a request for proposal to go out and have somebody buy the building instead of us taking it down. All this is in the works with SEI. Here's the overall site plan. You can see where the Buchendorf building is, or was, or would be removed. This is a pretty cool picture. This is inside Buchendorf, a slice going through, and you can see the first, second floor in the basement. So it's, I thought it was pretty neat. Here's some of the other existing conditions at Buchendorf, obviously reasons why we're not going to be using the building. Any questions? Yes.
Outside, you do business outside of the facility, that's the goal, correct?
Making them secure only allows them to come into a portion of the building.
Okay.
And in that building, in that part of it is secure. Example at Lincoln, new glass wall inside is both resistant, glass doors, and Glenboard, they're putting film. I'm not sure that it's shatterproof on the interior vestibules, and the transaction window will be inside that vestibule. So you come inside, and there's a transaction window with a coiling door for security, so that they're only allowed inside the interior vestibule of the building. Scotia will have a room, a second set of glass doors on the inside, leaving the exterior doors where they are now. At the high school, we're actually building outside with the canopy, a secure vestibule. Again, we will glass, flow-resistant glass, flow-resistant drywall. So they're inside the building, but they can't enter the rest of the building without proper identification, assets.
Will we rethink how we do like the door locks, like at Glendale and Glen Warden, you have exterior door, a small breezeway, then the secondary doors, and that's where the vestibule is. Will we begin locking those secondary doors?
All those, both of those doors, Glendale and Glen Warden, have already had the hardware changed. So, panic hardware to push out, emergency exit. To come in, all those doors will be locked. The only way that they would be able, once the students are in, once they're closed, they're only allowed in through the first door and then buzz through the second door. Handicap would still have the paddles, and both doors would open. Obviously, that's easily verified with the right term. But middle school has the doors really locked. I mean, potentially, as a matter of fact, we'll be updating that system this week. So once they're inside, they cannot go any further. They can't get through those doors unless the electric locks released.
Great, thank you.
At all locations.
On the picture of the parking lot and the map
Yes.
that we have, so is that permanently going to be like that at the school, or is that just while you're doing construction?
Complete work in progress. We had a meeting on the fleet electrification plan on the 17th, I think it was, and they're using that drawing as their basis of design. You know, we have the transformer, the generator, we have the existing fuel tanks that need to remain. The number of buses probably won't change, but the location of chargers will, depending on how they look at the how they want to package the infrastructure. I believe on the 30th, they're doing on-site inspection 9 o'clock. You're welcome to attend. If you have any questions,
Okay.
they're doing the study for us. And I believe NYSERDA is paying 75% of that to move this along.
All right, good, thank you. And Rob, any other questions? Yep.
Good, sorry. Hey, Drew, you can answer this. Since the bus prop had not passed in May, how has this affected the plans now? Anything changed, or we're still moving along with business as usual?
How I can answer that is the state's requiring us to go to EV buses by, it's 2035.
Yeah.
And we have, I think we've already approved 3 buses en route for next year, and chargers accompanying that. And anticipating the future, we're going to have that much. So we're keeping it as we're going to keep moving forward. We don't have a choice. We're working towards that. I believe Drew's another crop coming out, and I don't know when that's been determined. That's, you tell me, guys.
So the choice would be, we have to go back out at some point. We could go out at mid-year, January, February. We could wait till May and do it. So that's a discussion we're gonna have with the board probably in October or so, what your choice is, and not to kind of confuse it tonight. You have to make that decision of what your interest is, because we do have to go back out in public to approve it, borrow money at first, because we're going to be able to fund it at zero increase to the tax levy because of the incentives and repair reserve. So I'll wrap it, I'll bring that back to you at some point in the fall.
Okay.
So you can look at it again.
No choice but to keep moving forward.
No, that's good. So my second question is, if my memory is right, I don't have it with me right now. Initially, we were taking over 30% of the parking lot in the field. Now it looks like 80 to 90 almost. Am I missing something, or just maybe I didn't see it before? Or is it just a drawing?
That's a drawing that I believe, obviously the top part is the parking lot, and the lower part, as you're looking at it, is the ball field.
Yeah.
And I believe we tracked down who the owners were, and we were looking for easements, and when those things got tabled. But eventually, it would be employee parking for bus drivers and the maintenance and grounds workers working out of that building as an overflow.
Okay.
So it's just projected whether that would be in asphalt or whether that would be in crushed stone. That's just a drawing with.
Oh, no, it looks nice. I'm sure Coach Howell.
They stay in the lines, no colors around, but that is just for concept only. It's not final by any means.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a few questions. First, with respect to the vestibule, the glass that's going to be replacing the wooden parts. Do you have any idea when that's going to be coming in?
They were going to ship July 17th, and they were going to ship July 31st, August 9th, September 4th. So our tentative date right now is September 28th, and they're 0 for 5 so far, not even shipping them. All of them are ordered. The middle school, Glenville, Glenmore, I think middle school has 2 windows because we have a window out front. We also have ordered the high school, Scotia-Glenville, it was all at once. So tentatively, we should have them by mid-October, I'm hoping. The coiling doors that go on the inside of them, they could be another 3 months out. So until we have both of those components, basically doing it twice. So we have both of those, we'll be putting them in. I'm anticipating some hopefully over Christmas vacation, February vacation. We're also hoping for the window wall at Lincoln, Christmas vacation. I mean, there's waiting on materials that we can't control.
No, I understand.
I wish we could. Times have changed since, I hate to say this, since COVID, where you'd order something and they tell you it was shipped, and it was shipped. Now they don't care if the ship dates. It's unbelievable.
So with respect to the wooden pieces that are covering those areas, do any of those go to the outside, or are they all interiorly based?
Well, they'll have studs, insulation, drywall. We left the drywall on a couple of them.
They're inside
they're
them.
secure.
That's what I was wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're
They're
inside.
Not exterior deck, right? They're not exposed to the weather. They're all inside.
The only piece that's exposed to the weather is the one in the middle, right here. And only because there's no reason to take it out. We've already cut the brick, put lintels in. If we put it on the inside, we don't get, I think it's perfect the way it is. So it's more secure with the way it is right now.
Okay, they're great.
That's the big part, is to keep it secure. We're waiting on the PTAC unit and the fixed window that goes to the outside. They're on the same order with the transaction windows.
Now, going to Buchendall, the state had asked or demanded information from us in January of this year. Did we ever provide a response to that?
I don't have the answer to that. Alistair would have that. I believe so.
We did. The state was fine with what we said. They weren't concerned with us. Remember that complaint that was registered by the...
Right, that's why
That was waived. They accepted our response.
They did accept our response. Great. Okay. So we can choose to do what we want to do with that building now.
Just trying to see if someone's interested in taking it. So we're doing an RFP shortly.
No, and I appreciate that, but I also appreciate the fact that we have the space to do what we need to do. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I was about to ask you, the glass that we're installing for the vestibules, what type of glass is it going to be, like? how
The
protected?
transaction that goes bullet resistant with a hole, like a bank. I believe the interior glass is shatterproof and bullet resistant. If not, it has the film, the special film that's added. I believe it's the shatterproof bullet resistant glass.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, these are not items
No,
this is all special order, we're not the only ones ordering. Battle any other schools, they've all gone through a lot of these changes, and these parts are hard to find.
I understand, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if I can get a motion, please, on resolution number 11.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution to approve the resolution determining the proposed action as a type 2 action for purposes of the New York State Environment Quality Review Act for building and site improvements for said school district.
Thank you, Chad. A second, please.
Sorry.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions?
I have some questions. So this has to do with the gym hoop and wall padding replacement. How is that an environmental piece? I mean, I understand updating old equipment, I get that, but how are we covering it under the environmental piece of it?
Any project that's filed with the state of New York for aid has to go through this process, so we're gonna get 75% back next year on this. We're following it as a project. We do this annually for 100 Ks, so it's what they require the state to do this. Because we're gonna get aid on it as a capital project.
So it's not us saying, we environmentally need this, and this is why. I guess that's my question.
It's saying there's no environmental impact. That's
Oh,
what-
okay. Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So even though it's going to cost $100,000, 20, we're expecting only 25 to be from us. And I'm assuming because you're doing it, that it is within the budget that we have right now.
Yes, the public approved interfund transfer to the capital fund of 100,000 this past May, or June, whatever the second vote was. So yes, it's in the budget.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. If I had a motion, please, to adopt the new Board of Education Policy 1535, the opioid overdose prevention, please.
A motion to adopt the new Board of Education Policy 1535, the overdose prevention policy, as stated.
Thanks. Give me a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Question?
I had a question. Rick, I know you told us that, if I remember right, that nurses are currently trained to do this. Are we looking in the future to say, God forbid, a nurse is sick? Who was the second person? Who's the third person? Are we looking at that right now? Are we working with that?
Something down the road that we can consider. The initial impetus was to have the nurses be trained. We have a nurse on staff almost every day, but it's certainly something we can do. The training's really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. If I get a motion, please, resolution 13 to appoint an intern administrator for the district.
A motion to approve the resolution appointment intern administrator for the district.
Thank you. A second.
A second.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I got a question. In regards to this, because I had some community members asking a lot about this, the dialogue during the budget season was administrators, do we have too many, do we have too little? Could we have clarification on that for the community?
Absolutely. So Anthony Piccone has moved into the interim position. Katie Magel's position, but Anthony's there as the interim. So his position is currently not filled. Dr. Spring's going to work 2 to 3 days a week, not full-time, and we'll be doing CSE meetings, classroom observations, TA and aid observations. She'll be assisting Mrs. Bush, for example, with workplace violence investigations, and she will be visiting programs and providing backup out of the office when it's needed.
And this represents a good value at where we're bringing them in as opposed to bringing in a new individual with benefits package and everything.
And also because we want to take a look this fall at whether or not we need to perhaps do some adjustment to all of the areas that are under PPS. They have a pretty wide umbrella, certainly the most staff. There may be groups within that division, if you will, who might actually fit someplace else. So one of the things that I've talked with Mr. Giannetti, the association president, and Anthony about is taking a breath and looking at what we're doing and saying, does this make the most sense? Or should we make some adjustments?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jen. Other questions or comments?
I saw the agreement starts August 25th, so is she quote-unquote started
Yes.
already? Okay, and that was because I'm assuming there was a need to do so with the changes that had happened because of the resignation.
Anything else? Thanks, Kim. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Can I get a motion on communications, please, and report of the superintendent?
Motion with communications, staffing 1 through 18, and placement of children with disabilities as submitted.
Thank you, Kim. And a second?
Second.
Thanks, Chad. Questions, comments on any of that?
I have a question on 15A2. Is that per diem rate correct?
15.
Kim, can you just,
Sure. The teacher substitute for Glendale at $482.29 a day.
Which one?
11 or?
Oh, and 2. 15-2.
I have it.
Top of the page.
Under staffing too, page 3, top of page 3.
I just am not sure I'm looking at the same thing you guys are.
Number 2. There,
Oh,
right there.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, and the reason that is because she's a former employee, retired from us, and typically when folks come in to do leave of absences who have already been our employees, we bring them in at the step they left on.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Question about girls basketball. I see JV, freshman, and modified coaching. Is that really with that? I don't know if we're doing anything with, we didn't find staff yet, but we didn't find coaches yet. On the 14th?
Correct.
Yes. So the paid positions are the ones that are in the bargaining agreement, the collective bargaining agreement, and then there are other folks who want to volunteer, and they volunteer at no remuneration.
Well, what I'm asking is that I don't see the modified coaches for the girls basketball yet. So I'm guessing we don't have staff yet or coaching yet.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't want to speak for Marcy. I'm guessing she's working on filling those roles.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go.
I didn't see this. Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Nothing else? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Or abstain? So moved. Anyone have any questions on any of the payroll warrants or check warrants?
Yes, was there a reason why we got so many warrants in this meeting? It was a lot more than usual.
Summer was a busy time.
Paying all the bills. Treasurer's report, did everybody get a chance to see it?
I did not. So I'm going to abstain if we vote on it today.
Okay, I saw it too, all right. So we can, since doesn't seem like half the group saw it in the link that Kathy sent out, we can table it till next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll table item C, and then we're also going to table item D until the meeting on 10/6.
Correct.
All right, moving on to other business. Yeah. Okay. Other business. I know Michael had the pleasure of going to student board member training, so you want to take a few minutes and let us know how it went. And
Sure. So last Wednesday, on the 17th, New York State put on their first ever formal student school board representative training session. It lasted about 6 hours, almost a full school day's worth of time. And me and my secondary representative, Caleb Feinberg, had the pleasure of going there. As we've gotten into this position, one of the hardest things is knowing where to start, how to establish connections, what things to cover. And it almost seemed like that, in essence, this program was specifically made to answer those questions. And it was very helpful, it was very informative, and I look forward to applying those lessons into future work.
awesome.
In addition to that, I'd like to provide an update for the project I've been working on. I know over the past months, as the cell phone policy has been in place, it's been of high interest to hear what student reception has been for that. And if there's one thing I've learned out of the many lessons that I've learned while joining this, it's to never underestimate the amount of time it takes to just get things done. And I'm going to be continuing to work in that. The plan was to have the presentation today, but I can't really give a date for that. But I will tell you that I've received a lot of really, really enthusiastic comments from especially the high school student senate about bringing the idea into a much bigger picture than I initially imagined. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, get the entire student body of the high school and the middle school included. And it reminds me of one of the goals that we talked about last meeting of having more connection with students via surveys and things like that. And I think it's something we can be proud of to know that we're actively working on that goal right now through this project.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Can't wait to see your project. Any other business?
Yeah, I had a couple things.
Yeah.
Last week, I was picking up my son out at the middle school, and one of our dads at Glenmore just graduated from basic training, so he's in there in his fatigues. And I thought it was amazing that all the kids were being dismissed. They're walking by, and they're thanking the young man for his service. And I just thought, sometimes you hear this dialogue about where are the youth going? The youth are great. And it was a phenomenal thing to see, and it really inspired me to see them just not even know anything. I just thank you for your service, thank you for your service. And additionally, on Friday, beginning at 4:30 over at Glenmore, we're going to be doing our color run. So if you want to get messy a little bit, I'm thankful I don't get in the color pit this year. So if anyone wants to get in there and get dumped on, head on over there. It's a good time.
Thanks, Jack.
I had a couple of things. First, I want to give a huge congratulations to all of our staff that works with the Unified team. That was a huge award that they got from the Special Olympics and one of the few in our New York State. So a big congratulations to them, well deserved. They put their hearts and souls, their sweat and everything into it, and it shows. I love going to the games, I love seeing the kids interact, so it doesn't surprise me, but it's very exciting to see that they got the recognition they deserved. And speaking of recognition, thank you to the board for working with me. We've made a choice with respect to who will be our first employee of the month. We'd like to present it at the next meeting so we can have time to let them know, and hopefully they can come for the presentation. But I'm very excited about that, to do that at our next meeting for them.
And encourage folks to.
And yes, thank you. And if we could actually repost it maybe on Facebook, and Parent Square put out, because the only time I think we've really announced it was through that September 4th email with a lot of stuff going on in that email. If we could do one solely for the employee of the month, that would be great, because there's so many people in our district that are deserving, and the more applications, nominations, the better, in my opinion. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Anything else?
I just want to share with the board that also at our October 6th Board of Ed meeting, we'll be having our tenure reception for folks who received tenure as they entered school this year. Return to school as tenured staff. It's a better way to put that.
Oh, and Susan, do you want to say anything about the first meeting of reimagining the district?
No, but certainly you folks could do that.
Yeah, I went to that and I thought it was great. It was really nice seeing a large part of the community at that meeting, and I look forward to seeing what happens. A lot of good questions and comments.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it went well.
Nothing else? All right, at this time I'll open up the second hearing privilege floor. Remind everyone that you have 30 minutes to address the board. If you'd like to, please step to the podium. Name, address, 5 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Amy Marlette of 506 Mohawk Avenue. Thank you, Kim, for bringing up the remeasuring our schools. One thing, one thing that was said there, and I know 3 board members were there, but for those of you that weren't, the voting on how to move forward with repurposing a school will be on February 9th. That is the date. It came from the superintendent's memo. There was some interesting conversation that evening regarding people were surprised. That's different. And this has been coming. If we don't close the school, and I'm going to say this right now in a public forum, so we can all come back to it on the live stream if we need to. If we don't close the school, it's at least a $2 million budget deficit we will have to overcome next year. Literally exactly what we did last year. Other than that, positive note, thank you for approving Drama Dragons at Scotia-Glenville Elementary. Really appreciate that. I'd like to invite you all to October 30th at 7 p.m. at Scotia-Glenville in our gym for Kid Frankenstein. We have 43 kids that we are participating this year, and that puts 40 kids on stage. It is, for our fall production, it's only 4th and 5th graders. We had 110 kids eligible, and we have 43 participating.
Thanks.
The spring musical will include our 3rd graders and OB and kids, but we're starting with Kid Frankenstein, which is a play. It's really funny. We've got everybody gets a speaking role, everybody gets their chances to shine. So please join us October 30th, 7 p.m. It's Thursday night. The next day is a half day, it's Halloween, so hope to see you there.
Thanks, Amy.
Hello, my name is Christina Stryjek. I reside at 114 Silly Street. My children go to SAC. I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, 3rd and 4th grade. I also am an educator at Gloversville, and my passion is literacy. So I know I've come up here and I've talked about it before. I'm here to ask again, why are we using wonders in our school? It is an outdated curriculum. It is not aligned with our curriculum that New York State is requiring us to have, which is a science of reading curriculum. Like I said, I work in Gloversville. We have been using CKLA, which is a science of reading curriculum for the last 3 years. The year before that, we took a year as an entire district. We went to Johnstown, Amsterdam, and we actually talked to teachers, talked to students, and asked, how is this curriculum working? We talked about different types of curriculum. We saw it in practice. We came together as a staff collectively, and we came up with CKLA. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but it takes time. September 1st, 2025 was what New York State said our policy is we need to have a curriculum that is science and reading. Why are we so far behind? All these school districts around us are already doing it. And we wonder why our kids can't read at 6th grade. It's because we've been using this program wonders for 10 years, and it's not appropriate anymore. I have a child who has a reading disability called dyslexia, and it is not good for her. Her reading teachers are having to undo everything that they're doing in class with her all day. She goes to them and she has to relearn her words. And we wonder why our children are having a hard time and why our graduation rate is so hard to continue to grow. Yes, it grew 10%. I'm so excited about that. I am wanting that progression to continue. It really concerns me because I don't want to take my children out of Scotia. The only reason they're still in this school is because I trust these teachers with my kids. They are amazing, well-qualified teachers, and they deserve so much more credit than they are given. That is my heart coming out right now. Because I've seen these teachers reach my kids when I couldn't. And it breaks my heart that these teachers have to go and do professional development on their own time in order to learn what the science of reading even is. I was hoping over the summer that I was going to hear that we took the time to teach our teachers science so that they knew and the kids could come into a new curriculum. And the teachers had 2 days to start diving into how their classrooms will look during this new science of reading. And it didn't happen. So that's why I'm here today. And I'm begging for you to start looking at a different curriculum. I don't know how you even started the school year without science of reading curriculum. It is preposterous to me. Our kids need to be able to succeed in the world. That's the newest thing, the newest philosophy that works. It's not a fad. It works. It's been, since before COVID, they have been using this. Please, start looking at our kids' curriculum in the elementary buildings and start giving our teachers the training that they deserve so that we don't lose more families out of Scotia. Drive around the village. It's not just the taxes in the village that are driving people out of my neighborhood. It is the curriculum. It is what is happening at the elementary level. Please, take a look at the curriculum.
All right. If no one else wishes to address the board, I will close the second hearing and privilege of the floor. And at this time, I will ask the board for a motion to go into executive session for matters of personnel, please.
A motion to go into executive session for matters of personnel.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or abstained? All right. Thank you, everybody.